All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of All in the Name of Growth. I am very happy today to have on special guest Magic Barclay, who is coming to us all the way from Australia. So it's morning time where it is for her. So good morning, Magic. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm really excited to talk about the topic that we are going to be covering today, which is how our past mistakes do not define who we are in this moment, and certainly not who we want to be in the future. So I'm really excited about that. But before we jump into that, I want to do our little icebreakers just to get to know you a little bit more. So tell us, what is your favorite book?
Well, that's a tough one. I would have to say The Courage to Be Disliked. I'm a bookworm, but that one really touched me.
Oh,
And it's
that
actually quite
sounds
fitting for our
amazing.
conversation.
Yeah, it is. I like it. That title sounds amazing. I've never heard it, so that's great. Okay, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
It
I
surprises
hate
me.
chocolate.
It surprises me how many people say vanilla because I thought the world just like loved chocolate, but I am with you. I really like vanilla. Okay, favorite destination?
Monaco.
Yeah.
Formula One time at Monaco. Favorite of
Oh,
all time.
that's awesome. I will have to go someday. And the thing that you like to do to relax?
Gardening. I love my permaculture garden. I've gotten into permaculture. Before that, I loved native gardening, which I still love, but just seeing how everything works together in synchronicity and the symbiosis just excites me.
Oh, I love gardening too. There's nothing quite like getting your hands in dirt.
So
It,
true. And
it,
even better, your feet.
yes, it's therapeutic. I love going out and watering my garden in the morning without my shoes on, walking through the grass and being able to just have my little minute. Unless my husband beat me to it because he also loves our garden. So,
Luckily, my kids don't like gardening, so it's all mine.
there you go. You can enjoy all of it. Well, great. Okay, so let's kind of jump into why we're here, where we're going, what we're doing with this. Magic has a really actually compelling story about, her life. Really, it started from a very young age, and it started with the people that were in your own home. So, do you want to give us just like kind of a quick overview of like what brought you to this moment where we're at?
Okay, so I've been surrounded by people that don't serve me pretty much all my life. So it started when I was a child. My parents got divorced when I was 3, and I became the political football between them, myself and my big brother. And I had to be something that was used or something usable. And then I had to become my brother's protector. So I didn't have a sense of self at all. Leading on to my teenage years, I made friends who only wanted to be friends with me for what I could do for them. And
Mm,
I thought that was normal because that's what I was raised with.
yeah.
Then, first guy that, showed some sort of, well, I thought it was love, he actually put me on a pedestal. I became a belonging and I married that one.
Mm,
And very soon after, I became a mum, and this guy, the pedestal started forming cracks. And, instead of adoring me like he did, which was what I was craving, someone to love me for me,
yeah.
he started trying to own me. And it was, the phone calls 20 times a day. What are you doing? Where are you going? How long are you going to be there? I'd be changing a nappy and I'd get a phone call. Why didn't you answer the phone 5 minutes ago? I had baby poop up my arm. And so that wasn't good enough. So I started seeing that people wanted me to be someone the whole time. And that was my normal. So I left that marriage after 14 years of, being owned.
Yeah.
And he would turn around and say, see that ring on your finger? I own you. That's proof that I own you. And I thought that was okay because I didn't know who I was and I didn't know who I wanted to be. I thought this was all there was, slave, wife, and mother.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I left that and I really started looking around at the person I was and I went, who am I? Why am I? And after leaving that marriage, and this gets us to our topic today, I was attacked on Facebook relentlessly. I was attacked in the Australian court systems relentlessly. he would say, oh, she's this and she's that. And I'm trying to reinvent myself and start my new life. But I was being dragged back to who he wanted me to be, who I had been in the past, because I was too scared to say, no, that's not good enough. And, reinventing yourself when you hit 40, it's not as easy as you think, especially when you don't know who you are.
Right.
So, that was my first step. Who am I? Who do I want to be? So I had to learn about future pacing and where do I see myself in 5, 10, 20, 30 years time? Because I was only 40. So, learning all of that and setting that infrastructure in place was the first step.
Yeah.
But then I found all the people around me, including my own family, not my children, but my elders were like, oh, but you did this when you were younger. Okay, but that was then, this is now. So I had, all these people around me, so-called, friends, saying, yeah, but you did this before. Yeah, that was before.
Right.
Your point is, insert expletives here because that's what I was actually saying. But, and even now I'm in natural health and people say, oh, but you used to vaccinate your kids and you used to take them to the doctor for medications. Yeah, but that was before I knew what I know now.
Yeah.
So why are you, pigeonholing me to what I used to do?
Right. Yes.
So yeah, that takes us to today pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's a really powerful story. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that are in similar circumstances, maybe not to the gravity of what you were experiencing with your parents or with your husband, but in different circumstances where they are afraid, and maybe it's not even a fear thing. Maybe it's just not even an acknowledgement that there's something wrong with the situation until one day you're like, this isn't right. And I can't keep staying in this. So I love how you had said the term when you were trying to like kind of pull yourself out of it. And you asked yourself the question, who am I? Who do I want to be? And I think that question of who do you want to be is a really, really powerful place to start from. And there are a lot of people who cannot answer that question. And I was actually talking with a good friend the other day and was talking about the same thing because I have a course. And one of the very first questions I ask in that course is, who do you want to be? And it is always so hard for people to answer that question. And she and I were talking about that. And she said, I honestly cannot answer that question. I've been sitting with it for weeks. And I said, that's because you're worried about who your husband wants you to be and what he needs from you and who your children need you to be and who your parents need you to be and, who your patients need you to be. And I was like, the thing is that you've learned to just put your needs last and everybody else's first. And it's not that these people are even trying to abuse her, like in situations like yours was. It's just that she has put herself in a position where she doesn't know who she is unless she identifies herself as the wife or the mom or the doctor or, like all of these outward things rather than who we are on the inside, who we really want to be. So I'm curious if we go back to right where you got to the point where you were like, I've had enough. So after a childhood of being abused, and mentally especially, and abusing yourself in the process, and then going into a marriage where you were also mentally abused and continued to abuse yourself to try and protect yourself, like where was the moment, like what was the light bulb that just like went off that was like, I'm not staying here another second, I cannot live like this anymore? Up to that point it had been your life, and you had even said that he had said, see that ring on your finger? It means I own you. And you thought, okay, well, I guess that's what that means. So when did you realize that that's not what that means and that you didn't have to stay?
It's really interesting and sad all at the same time. And that is that I wanted to stay in the marriage because I came from a split marriage. And, I didn't want my kids to be raised with only one parent or with parents at each other's throats. But the moment that I broke free was because my elder son, who well, how old was he? 13 at the time.
Mhm.
Turned around and said, Mum, what's going on? We're living on the floor on a mattress, all three of us huddled together. My little brother has made a spear and an axe out of things from the garden and carries them around when you're not home. Why are we here? And I said, oh, darling, because you need a mum and a dad. And he actually just held me on the hips because that's all he could reach. And he went, wake the heck up, Mum. Snap out of it. And I did immediately. And I went, oh, you don't have a dad. You have an abuser. You have a jailer. You don't have a mum. You have an empty ghost shell of a mum who tries not to talk too loudly, or tries not to have dinner laid on the table, or tries not to let you laugh when you're playing with your toys in case he comes into the room. Hang on. Reality check. And it was him that snapped me out of it.
Wow.
And I went, wow, this is a brave kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That almost makes me want to cry. Just how, it's amazing sometimes the way that our kids can see things that we can't see ourselves. And I'm glad, I'm grateful that he was able to see that, even coming from the home that he was in a very risky situation, that he was able to be like, we don't have to stay, we can go. And for him to give you the courage to say, you're right, baby, we can go. Yeah. It's just phenomenal. Kudos to him for being that like wake up call, that moment in time that was like, I don't have to do this anymore. We can get out of this. And I was reading on your bio, and it was talking about how, your kids, you still, you have a great relationship with them. And I love that. I love that, even through all of the things that they went through, that they still value, your life together and what that looks like for them and for you. And that they can see how it wasn't healthy before. What a contrast I'm sure that it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, my kids are my life. They are my best friends. They're now young men. They still live in the house with me. We'll all be together till they either marry and have kids and leave, or until I'm put in the ground somewhere,
Yes.
But just going back to your question that you ask people of who do you see yourself to be? I adore my kids. They are my oxygen. I will do anything for them. But what I had to actually ask myself was not who do I see myself to be, but if no one else is around, including my kids that I idolize, who am I?
Yeah.
So even to this day, if you say, hey, Magic, who are you? I'm a podcaster. I'm a health practitioner. I'm a mum to my boys. I'm a mum to my cats. I'm a gardener. Okay, no, but if all of that's not there, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I could say, I'm a sensitive yet polarizing kind of person. Love me or hate me, I actually don't care, because it's none of my business. Yes. Because I actually love who I am. And I'm, a child of Mother Earth and Father Sun. And I'm a collection of cells that do amazing things every day. And I'm a source of energy. And I'm someone who's connected to the earth and connected to animals. That's who I am. And that's very different from I'm a mum.
Yeah.
Or I'm a business owner.
Yeah. Very, very different than that. I love that. I think that it's great that you've been able to identify that. And my favorite part out of everything that you just said was that other people's thoughts about you are none of your business. And that is something that I totally wholeheartedly live by and preach to those that I mentor and coach, is that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of you. It's literally none of your business. It has no bearing on you unless you allow it to. And so you can choose to allow it to, or you can choose to not allow it to. That's fabulous. So I know that, people will oftentimes look at us on this side of the trial that we were in, right? And they will think, oh, you've got it all together. Life must have been pretty easy for you. But we fail to recognize the trials that have made us who we are, and the things that we have overcome, and being able to get to this position where you're able to say, without anybody else's expectations. This is who I am in myself. And there's power in that. There's power in being able to do that. So one of the questions that I kind of wanted to ask to you was, how do you, first of all, reinvent yourself when you have other people around you that are trying to, and I've come across this myself in my own life. So I grew up in a very small town in Wyoming, which is just a, kind of a country state, right? It's not like a huge population. It's a very small town and everybody knew your business kind of a place. And when I was in high school, after I graduated, I just realized that whole county was not big enough for me to stay in. I needed to get out. I couldn't imagine staying there my whole life. I had to go do something else. And so I had the benefit of being able to move out into a new state and reinventing myself on my own without other people around me. But as I've grown up, and matured more, and back in 2012, I came across this business opportunity and it was like fabulous and it just like blew up and it was amazing. But up to that point, we had always been the ones like in my family that had kind of struggled financially. And it was just kind of interesting. Friends and a little bit from family, just kind of, they almost trying to keep you in a box of, like, you've never been successful before, so why would you be successful now, even though it was like there, present, and like showing itself. And I can relate in feeling that like it's really difficult to try and reinvent yourself and be who you want to be when there are people around you who keep telling you, no, this is how you are. No, this is who you are. No, this is what you did. No, this is what you're like. So what was it like for you, and how did you break free from that and be able to just say, I'm done. I'm not letting anything that you have to say or your thoughts or beliefs or anything about my past define who I am right now and who I am working on becoming.
I'm going to give you something to picture here. So imagine this beautiful horse, gorgeous long flowing mane, gorgeous long flowing tail. The breeze is picking up, so you can see that beautiful hair just, flapping, and you want to see this horse running because it's the most beautiful thing to see it running in the field. But you've chained it to a fence, and you can see the breeze picking up the hair, and you can see in your mind it running, but you don't take the chain off the fence.
Mm-hmm.
How is that horse running? How are you picturing it? How is it free? This is what the people around us are doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're that beautiful running horse with the flowing mane, flowing tail, but they've got us chained to the fence. So when you're reinventing yourself, you just have to say to those people, and this is hard because you might not like the answer, but you say, do you want to see me free and succeeding and enjoying my life? Is that what you want to see, or do you want to keep me in the box? Now they'll go, oh, no, of course I want to see you free. Okay, I'll hold you to that then. Mm-hmm. Step out of my way, keep your mouth shut, keep your opinions to yourself, let me run.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if they say, oh, no, but you've got this and you've got that, they're keeping you chained to that fence. They're keeping you down in that box. Mm-hmm. Cut them loose.
Mm. So how do you do that? So I think that's the biggest holdup that people come across, is that they're like, these are the people that are in my life, and is there going to be anybody else out there for me, or am I going to be all alone? Which, begets the question, maybe you're better off alone. But how do you actually take that step to walk away from the people in your life?
The first thing is you have to be clear that you're after a sense of belonging. Okay. And there are other people in the world that want to be free and want to be, delving into their personal growth and succeeding and exceeding their own perceived limitations. There's a whole new tribe of people out there. So when you start just doing the stuff that you need to do, those people come to you. Right. Yeah. So you'll find new people. You'll get a new sense of belonging. But the one person you have to belong to is yourself. So stop doing everything for everyone else. Stop living in fear of losing people that do not serve you. Say to yourself, and this is the first thing, you say, listen, self, what do I want to be? Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? Now, there's no other people in those sentences.
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
right.
you.
You're right. I think that that's really valuable. So just kind of to recap, what those three things were that you just said, I think that there's power in them. And I think that that's a good kind of wrap up place for this episode, is just to help people recognize what it is that they can do and how they can take those steps. So the first thing that you had said was, first of all, stop living in fear. That you have to stop worrying about the people that will go out of your life, and two, understand that the right people will come into your life. And that is absolutely true. When you start taking actions that serve you and that help you be healthy and have those healthy relationships, healthy people will come to you. It's just the way it works, right? There's 8 billion people on the planet almost. So you will not be alone. That's just a fact.
Just remember, like attracts like.
Yeah, it does. It's true. And the third one, which I think is probably the most important out of all of them, is to just be true to yourself. Be true to who you are and start digging deep on who it is that you want to be, so that you can be true to yourself, that you can identify who that is. So Magic, thank you. Are there any last tips that you would, want to offer up that would help people be able to, really understand that the choices that they made in the past, or maybe the mistakes that they made in the past, or even successes that they've had in the past, that they don't have to define who you are in this moment or who you want to be in the future?
Yeah, look, it's really important that your listeners understand that the human body replaces itself every 7 years. Okay, every single cell has been replaced. You are not the same person that you were. Okay, that is a scientific fact, that every cell has to replace itself. The old cells die off, we're a different person.
Mm-hmm.
So just remember that happens with your personality too. That happens with your goals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're seeking today is different from 7 years ago. It'll be different in another 7 years. So go easy on yourself. Stop beating yourself up and putting stress on yourself unnecessarily.
Amen. Amen. Stop beating yourself up. Be nice to yourself.
Totally.
It's all going to be okay.
Be your own best friend.
Yes.
I know it sounds corny, but no one else is going to be. You're it.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, have your own back. That's the first best thing that you can do, is have your own back.
Yep. Like if you're on a desert island stranded, guess what? It's you. Right? At the end of your life, when you go into the pine box in the ground, guess what? It's you. When you're born, guess what? It's you. Like, you're it.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Awesome. Thank you, Magic, for joining me today. I loved this episode. I love the insights that you shared and your story, to be able to help other people kind of put themselves in your shoes and be able to identify, like, well, my situation may not be the same, but the sentiment is the same and the feeling is the same. And I feel that way. And I recognize in myself that I need to make some changes. And I love the tips that you gave on being authentic to yourself and not being afraid, and recognizing that other people will come and they are going to be the people that are actually for you instead of against you. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Awesome. All right. We will catch up with you later.
Great.